state trooper is dead and 2 others injured after a woman opened fire in a Lyle's cigar lounge last night. Police say the 3 men were watching TV at the Humidor when a woman opened fire, later turning the gun on herself. Retired State Trooper Gregory Reeves passed away. Retired Special Agent Lloyd Graham and current State Trooper Caton Bullock are in stable condition.
The Lisle Police Department is the primary investigative agency in this ongoing investigation. And the Illinois State Police fully support their investigative efforts. Now, details regarding the shooter's identity and any connection with the deceased are appropriately the subject of their investigation.
Police say the women and men knew each other, but the extent of that relationship is still under investigation.
Illinois State Police are mourning the death of a retired trooper. Gregory Reeves was shot and killed last night in Lisle, Illinois. That's near Chicago. Another state trooper and a retired special agent were also injured in the shooting. Investigators say a woman opened fire inside a cigar lounge just after 10 o'clock Friday night. Retired trooper Reeves was shot in the head and killed. The 2 other victims are hospitalized with serious injuries. Police say the woman then shot and killed herself.
The men and women who serve in the Illinois State Police, it's part and parcel of their job to have to deal with crime and violence and difficult circumstances on a regular basis. It is not always expected that while they're off duty that they may have to face that type of violence.
Very tragic. Investigators say the shooter and the victims knew each other, but they have not released any other details about a possible motive for this crime.
A retired Illinois state trooper was killed and 2 others were injured when a woman opened fire at a cigar lounge and then fatally shot herself, police said.
The shooting Friday night at Humidor Cigar Lounge in Lisle, about 26 miles west of Chicago, was caught on camera and shows several people watching television in the lounge's media room, the Lisle Police Department said in a press release.
Without apparent provocation, the suspect, who is seated behind the officers, stands up and shoots one of the troopers in the back of the head, the department said.
The video then shows the suspect firing several more shots at the other troopers before turning the gun on herself.
During a news conference on Saturday, Illinois State Police Director Brendan Kelly identified the 3 officers as retired troopers Greg Reeves and Lloyd Graham and current trooper Caton Bullock.
The Lisle Police Department identified the suspect as 51-year-old Lisa V. McMullen and said she was pronounced dead at the scene.
Kelly said Reeves, 51, died from his injuries at a hospital. Graham, 55, and Bullock, 48, were seriously injured in the shooting and are hospitalized in stable condition, Kelly said. They are expected to recover.
Reeves had been with the Illinois State Police for over 20 years and retired about a year ago, Kelly said at the news conference.
Jesus Christ.
He's someone who was well loved by all those who worked with him, he said.
Graham was a special agent with the department and Bullock has been a trooper for 22 years. He was off duty at the time of the shooting.
The Illinois State Police family have heavy hearts this morning, Kelly said in a statement posted on the department's Facebook page. We are mourning the loss of a retired trooper and praying for a full recovery of both our active and retired officers.
The Cigar Lounge said in a Facebook post that it would be closed Saturday.
We look at all our customers as family and we ask you to pray for the victim and the speedy healing of the injured, the lounge posted.
He joins us now with the latest, Eric.
Good evening. We've learned tonight that the shooter went to high school with one of her victims. Still, no one tonight is sure why she opened fire. It was just after 10 when Lisle police got reports of shots fired inside a cigar lounge called the Humidor. Inside, they found 3 men suffering gunshot wounds and the shooter, 51-year-old Lisa McMullen from Chicago, dead. Police say she shot and killed herself after opening fire.
It is with much sadness and a heavy heart that I stand before you.
The director of the Illinois State Police, Brendan Kelly, confirms a retired state trooper, 51-year-old Gregory Reeves, died from his gunshot wounds. He just retired from the Illinois State Police about a year ago after serving 25 years.
Well, I think he's someone who was well loved by all those who worked with him. Was known to be a very great personality, and that many people thought very fondly of.
The other 2 victims are 55-year-old Lloyd Graham, also retired state police, and 48-year-old current trooper Caton Bullock. They are in stable condition and recovering from surgeries at area hospitals.
At this point, we have no idea why this happened, but certainly that will come out in the next day or so.
Ohio police say surveillance video shows McMullen sitting behind the three men in a TV room, and for no noticeable reason, she stands up and shoots Reeves in the head, then shoots at least 5 more shots at the 2 other officers before shooting herself. Police say she'd been to the club before and at the same time as Reeves, but no one is sure if they were there together or just acquaintances. The pair did go to Proviso East High School together in Maywood. Police say she did have a valid FOID card and concealed carry license.
Obviously, for the men and women who serve in the Illinois State Police, it's part and parcel of their job to have to deal with crime and violence and difficult circumstances on a regular basis. It is not always expected that while they're off duty that they may have to face that type of violence.
Police tonight also saying that McMullen had no criminal record. Of course, it was a Friday night, so there were plenty of witnesses to speak to. Police are hoping some of those witnesses, as well as a little time to investigate, will help determine why she opened fire last night.
Many questions still remain. Thank you, Eric.
You know, it took me a while to really take a step back and decide how I wanted to do this video. Because after I got over the initial anger at what happened, not just at what happened, but also the lack of attention this story is getting. Then I had to deal with another trying issue, which is that I have a bone to pick, not with all law enforcement, but particularly with the Illinois State Police Department, which you guys have heard me ranting about off and on over the course of the past year. It was, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but I've already told you guys that story as to why I take issue with this particular police agency more so than others. But I had to set that aside, and I had to find it within myself to realize that no matter what, I was going to produce a video on this tragedy because no one else has and no one else will. Because it wasn't 3 black hood thoughts that got shot inside of a hair salon or sitting on the porch of their baby daddy's house. It was not 1, but 2, or 2, but 3 black men. They were not only black men, they were police officers, state troopers, 2 retired, and 1 active duty Illinois state troopers, all gunned down by a crazed, psychopathic, mentally ill, delusional, fat, ugly, black female. I also couldn't get over the irony that, as many of you recall, though I know a lot of you weren't paying attention, I literally, even though I know my audience and my views are small, I literally just got done warning black men twice within the last 2 weeks about these insane black females that are bitter. A lot of them, they've reached middle age. They realize that nobody wants them, usually because of their attitude and their ass backwards mentality. And they're not just bitter, they're angry. And it's just like drinking and driving don't mix. Anger and insanity, as I call it, or anger and mental illness don't mix. I literally just got done warning y'all after the thought got shot and killed in DC trying to fight her baby daddy's new piece of pussy. And I warned y'all again about the crazed black female in at the KFC in Louisville that opened fire on the drive-thru window because she didn't get a fucking napkin with her order. I just told y'all that black men need to watch out. They really shouldn't deal with these bimbos at all. But if they're going to deal with them, they need to deal with them by making sure that they are cautious, they are aware, and they are alert. Keep her on a short leash. Do not turn your back. Do not take your gun off or your weapon off at night if you're going to have that female over. I remember when I was when I was still with my ex that I was engaged to 2 years ago. I specifically remember that even though I thought we were in love, I could tell the relationship was in trouble within the first 6 to 8 months. Even though I was foolish enough to let it go on for a full 2 years almost, I knew we were done inside of like first 6 to 8 months. But in that entire time period, as I've told you guys before, I carry guns. And in that entire time period that we were together, I never once trusted her around my guns. For one thing, when I tried to show her how to use one, she acted like an idiot, like a jackass with it. And another reason is because I knew she was fucked up in the head. So when we laid down in the bed together, I never allowed her, access to my firearms. I never put them in a drawer. If I put them in a case, I put a lock on the case and I made sure that I was the only one that had access to that lock. As a matter of fact, I didn't trust her so much that, and it wasn't just her specifically, I don't trust any female. Y'all remember that star, what was he, like a running back or something? So many years ago, he was shot and killed by this Arabian whore, Salah Kazemi or something. I forget his name, but he was like a well-known, who was he with, the Tennessee Titans? It was this black running back, I forget his name, but he was messing around on his wife with this young Arab chick, and she shot and killed him and killed herself. And I never forgot about that. A lot of people never forgot about that. I might do a video on that one day. But I always thought about that. And there was another case where there was a well-known boxer in South America that was shot and killed by his wife, and she killed herself. And there's this white comedian back in the late 90s. I think he was on Saturday Night Live. His wife killed him. And I always thought about that, like, You know, of course I can overpower her if she tries something physically. But if I'm in the shower and she decides to go crazy, like if she knows we're about to break up or she's just having one of those emotional events, and my ex had a lot of emotional events. She was a fucked up character. I knew I would be completely at the mercy. I would be completely vulnerable. So I made sure to keep, when we went to sleep in bed, not only did I sleep with my gun, I'm one of those people, I don't sleep in pajamas. I sleep in whatever, pants I was wearing when I went to bed. When I get up in the morning, I change and take a shower, change into new clothes. So I would keep my gun in my jeans, and I would make sure to lay the gun at the point where my leg is pressing into the bed, so she couldn't get it out of my pocket, on the side that was laying on air, up in the air. If I went to switch sides and I was conscious enough, I would always take the gun out when she wasn't looking, because usually she was dead asleep at that point, and I'd put it in the other pocket just to make sure that she couldn't get to it. Or I would put the gun somewhere where I know she wouldn't think to look. Okay? Because I never once, even when I dealt with these females, and I said before, I don't deal with them anymore. I have never, ever, 100%, I've never 10% trusted these hoes. And that's why I warned y'all. I actually warned y'all the first time I remember in all the years of doing content creation. I first recall warning black men, I think it was early last year, that it was either early last year or it was sometime in late 2018. I told black men, I made a video about that preacher, that pastor, and I believe that was Arkansas. He was shot and killed by some crazy black female that her career title was listed as a psychiatrist or a psychologist that specialized in anger management. The irony, remember that? And she was, screwing around with the pastor behind his wife's back. And once she realized that he wasn't going to leave his wife for her, she went to his house, him and his wife's house, and shot and killed him in front of his wife in his house, and almost shot his wife. This is just how angry and bitter this bimbo was, because she couldn't have the dick to herself, because her stank ass mediocre pussy couldn't convince him to leave his wife. And we have told y'all, I've been trying to warn y'all, okay? Those tears that Crystalline Carrison was crying a few years ago, y'all remember? And we was laughing at that shit, okay? A lot of these females, they have that anger just like a lot of crazy ass men, okay, that go back to their workplaces and shoot that shit up. A lot of these females now, they're packing. It ain't like it was 10, 20 years ago. They're packing heat. They're angry, they're bitter, and they're mentally ill, okay? I tried to warn y'all just a few days ago, okay? You cannot turn your back on them. You really can't turn your back on anybody, okay? As I speak to y'all right now, I'm sitting in my vehicle with my 38 caliber revolver sitting right underneath my left thigh. As I told y'all, that's standard operating procedure for me. Some dude just walked by and eyeballed me. I eyeballed him right back. He nodded like, you got a light. I just, through my window, I just shook my head. No, bro, I ain't got a light. It's not just females. I'm just saying, you can't turn your back on people. It's enhanced with me because I have anxiety disorder. But even over that, I've always been cautious. And really, I feel like I'm not cautious enough. I feel like I need to be more cautious. This handsome brother, only 51 years young, just retired. Most people don't see retirement until they're well into like their mid 60s. My father was lucky enough to retire at 58 years old. This brother put in 25 years of work. And again, I'm not a fan of any Illinois state trooper. That it after what that slick shit that dude said to me, little punk ass bastard, basically indicating that he felt that just because, he's a trooper with a badge, he can do anything. Him and his boys can do whatever the fuck they want to me. That little slick shit that he said to me 2 years ago in December 2018. I never completely got over that shit. And I still have that recording. It's gonna come out when I complete the Amber Geiger Botham Jean documentary. But since he said that slick shit to me, the Illinois State Police have been dropping like fucking flies. Honestly, I've never seen a curse that bad on any one individual organization. Between January of 2018 and just a few days ago when this brother was killed, that's 5 troopers killed in the line of duty, including 2 that were shot and killed, including this brother. Granted, he was retired, but he just retired a year ago. They've been dropping like flies since that motherfucker said that slick shit to me. And I almost, especially now that a young black man lost his life, I almost feel sorry for them. They did something, they done fucked up. I know they fucked up with me, but they definitely done fucked something all the way up. The first trooper that got killed down in East St. Louis, of course it had to be East St. Louis, last year. He was the last trooper to die in the line of duty in 2019. He was the first Illinois state trooper shot and killed in the line of duty in more than 30 years. So I know there's a curse on them. I don't, again, when you talk shit and do shit that you think, you can get away with, I guess what people say, karma, I guess there is some truth to that. Cause I have never seen no shit like this before. Especially with not with no state agency. But all of how I feel about them aside, I mean, it's just difficult to see grown black men, being so mentally vulnerable to their gender opposite as a lot of them are. We see these fools online acting like clowns trying to impress these hoes, and then in some cases seeing them physically vulnerable. I mean, it didn't really dawn on me how tragic this brother's death is until I saw this fucking photo here. Somebody posted this picture on Instagram of this brother, Greg Reeves Sr., the 25-year veteran of the Illinois State Police, who was shot and killed at this bar, and the woman who shot him. Apparently, they had some type of relationship. They went to high school together. There's some reports on social media that she was she was like a failed Cook County Sheriff's deputy. For those of you from the Chicagoland area, you know that the Cook County Sheriff, they take care of the courts and jails. They're not like out west in LA where the LA County Sheriff's Department, they pretty much, they have as much jurisdiction and as much movement as like the LAPD, or the California Highway Patrol, cruising the streets of Los Angeles, locking up niggas. But what I'm hearing is that she was a failed law enforcement officer that had a very short stint, either in the academy or in the Cook County Sheriff's office. And nowadays, especially these county sheriff's offices and these prisons, they pretty much hire any female to and give them a gun and a badge. So, but obviously, these two knew each other to some extent. And what really dawned on me is that, I don't know, people are saying everybody's running off at the mouth. Some people are saying that they were in a relationship. Some people were saying that they were just, best friends. I mean, they were both the same age, 51 years old. They went to high school together. Um, you know, it was probably some type of my first thought is that it was probably some type of intimate relationship, but whether it was or wasn't, what really fucked with me was when I saw this picture of this brother and how it's obvious that to some extent, I don't know him. He could have been an asshole. I don't know. Okay? But what stuck with me was that it's obvious that to some extent he cared for this woman. Okay? I don't know if it was like, she was like a sister type of friend to him, or, if they were fuck buddies. There's no indication that they were in a relationship, or, that they were married or dating or anything. But, I mean, you're looking at the picture. Anybody that's been to the hospital, you can see clearly she's in a hospital bed and in a hospital gown. And it looks like a picture where he's visiting her. Oh man. I'm gonna try to keep this, cause I'm getting mad right now, bro. I'm getting mad. I mean, I've tried to warn black men, man. You got to stop thinking that you owe these females something, man. If they're not family, I mean, it's human nature. I know people are going to interact with each other. They're going to, befriend each other. Adult human beings are going to do what the fuck they want to do. Okay? But you cannot trust, especially now with these females being bitter. I got a lot of them in my family and mentally ill. You cannot 100%, or in a lot of cases you can't 50% trust these bimbos. You just can't, man. You just can't. Again, a picture does not, people say a picture is worth 1,000 words. It may or may not be worth 1,000 words. It doesn't tell the life story of these two. I don't know what was going on. Okay? Some people are claiming that this hag was suffering from depression. There's a lot of people who suffer depression that don't go pull a gun and start gunning motherfuckers down inside of a sports bar. Okay? But obviously, the only thing I know is looking at this picture does tell me one thing. To some extent, he cared for this pathetic woman. And he trusted this pathetic woman. And it wound up costing him his life and almost the life of two other black men who were also law enforcement officers, officers of the law, and state troopers. You think about how little press this is getting on social media. Let me show you the other black men who were shot. These are the other two Illinois state troopers that were shot. Lloyd Graham, he's a retired member of the Illinois State Police. He was part of their investigative bureau. And this brother, Caden Bullock, he's a current state trooper. He was off duty at the time. Now I want you to think about, with all the tragedy that the Illinois State Police have endured over the course of the last year, and for this to happen, not one, not two, but three Illinois state troopers getting shot. Granted, they were off duty and two of them were retired. but how little attention this is getting. I'm trying to help you understand this, black man, because a lot of y'all still don't understand where you stand in the entire scheme of things when it comes to what this society values versus what it doesn't. If think about this. If a black man that wasn't a law enforcement officer stood up at a bar and there were 3 off-duty black female sheriff's deputies or troopers or Chicago police officers that all knew each other and acquainted, and these 3 police ladies decided to, put on their heels and dresses and weaves and go out for a night out on the town, and they brought some male friend with them to some bar, and he was black, and he stood up while they had their backs turned watching a football game or something, or sitting at the bar drinking beers, and he shot all 3 of these female off-duty cops, killed one of them, and badly wounded the other 2, and then killed himself or was captured. This would be headline news on CNN, on Instagram, on motherfucking Facebook, YouTube. Paris Milan, Cynthia G, probably even Crystal and Kerrison will be talking about toxic masculinity and how black men are a threat and so dangerous to the health and safety and sanity of black women. And here is another example of why. Yet and still, a black female guns down 3 black men in the prime of life, kills one a year after he retired. And this is the amount of views on the few videos. I literally had to filter the search on YouTube just to find the handful of videos that are even reporting this story outside of, local news stations in the Chicagoland area. And this is what I found. No more results. A handful of videos, not a single one of them has over 1,000 views. Not a single one of them. One of them that's been up for 8 hours has no views. And this is on YouTube, a social media platform that loves to make a spectacle out of black females every time they get involved in some dumb shit or around dumbass people and wind up getting murked as a result. And these aren't females of any high caliber. These are low-end thoughts that the only reason they get paid attention to is because they're good at applying aesthetics, as we've learned time and time again over the years. Yet 3 black police officers get gunned down by a black female that's supposed to apparently be a friend. And nobody gives a damn. Hardly. Now I can see this brother. He enjoyed, like David Carroll, he enjoyed his cigars. As a matter of fact, they were in a cigar bar and they decided to bring this woman along. And people are saying, well, he was probably messing around on her and that's why she, shot him and shot herself. Or it could just be that he cared for her. He considered himself one of those chivalrous black men that was going to take care of his old friend from high school. Maybe he felt sorry for her, so he allowed her to tag along just so she wouldn't feel left out. Who knows? Maybe they were fucking, or maybe it was just a friend trying to care for somebody that he thought was his friend. Again, I don't know. I don't know the man. He may, personally, he may have been a terrible human being. But then again, he may have been a wonderful human being. All I know is that last night, 3 black men went out, acquaintances, friends, current and former co-workers to enjoy a night out on the town. They brung a black female with them, and all of them wound up with bullets in them, and one of them, as a result, lost their life. I just mentioned this in a video where I talked about how every time one of these thoughts that are prettied up, in this fake up, in this weave, they die, it makes national news, at least on social media, right? Kanika Jenkins walks her drunk ass into a freezer, and people are talking about it for months, like the assassination of John F. Kennedy or something. That even that thought, in Baltimore, that was killed inside her beauty salon. Yet there were 3 black men killed on the very same day that she died, and nobody even knows their fucking name. Nobody cares when bad things happen to black men on a broad scale outside of their immediate family. Even when they're not Pookies and Ray Rays. Even when they're what society would consider by most people's standards contributing members of society, like a police officer. As a matter of fact, I'm even inclined to think that if these were 3 white Illinois state troopers that were killed by a white woman, or one of their fellow male troopers for that instance, it would have made national headlines. I mean, it made national headlines on the internet, but there's not a big outcry. It didn't really go viral. I showed you the few videos that were on YouTube that I had to filter the search engine just to find. When I type in his name, or Illinois State Trooper killed, nothing comes up. Or Lisle, Illinois, which is in far west suburban Chicago, nothing comes up in relation to what happened. That's because no one cares. As a matter of fact, the few videos that I found with the small amount of views, somebody went through there just like they do on my videos and intentionally thumbed down every single video. Gave it at least 1 thumbs down. That's what society thinks of you, Mr. Black Man. In fact, this was the only the only online remembrance or tribute to this brother that I could find from this black female that goes under the Instagram handle Cam C. Kennar. Says, my heart hurts and the tears won't stop. Greg Reeves, you were and will remain one of my favorite people on this planet. Rest in peace, my friend. This is unbelievable. I don't know if she's a police officer too, because I know people of, different environments, they usually ride in the same circles. Yeah, these are just people responding. Says, I'm sure you know he is. Known too many and loved by us all. PE, class of 86. I don't know what PE means, but I'm trying to find out if this woman is a fellow officer. No, PE Pirates, okay, they went to high school together. So he went to high school with a couple of females, black females, and they're remembering him, and one of them actually killed him, as I just said, and wounded 2 other brothers. But this was the only tribute that I could find for this brother on social media, and those few videos that I showed you on ScrewTube. Stumbling across his account, it's private, so I can't, really comment on what he had on his Instagram. Usually people's social media tells quite a bit about their lifestyle, because everybody other than me now thinks it's a cool thing to put their whole life out there. But, that's a subject for another video. But I'll conclude this video with telling you, brothers, what I've been telling you over the course of the last year, and just literally got done telling you a few days ago that these females are bitter, they're mental, they're angry, they're lonely. They realize that these self-entitlements that they give themselves are not helping, and everybody can see through their facade. And even worse, some of them are armed. So either you better also be armed, or you better step lightly, meaning you better be alert and aware when you're around them. Because these days, you never know when you're going to run into that nutcase. It could be 99% of just like usual. Same as always. And all you have to be is unlucky enough to encounter that 1%. Unfortunately, when you deal with the BAW, it's going to be a lot more than 1%. And I told y'all the other day, if they don't do something to directly or indirectly hurt you, they're going to make you do something to directly or indirectly hurt them so they can play the victim and ruin your life. So while you're grown, I told Obsidian the same thing. Do what you want to do. Invite them on your live streams. Bicker and argue with other black men to try to impress them. Take them to a, cigar or, liquor lounge or wherever you go and turn your back on them. But just know that thought bot, or what Tommy Sotomayor calls the Terminatrix, is out there. And you never know when and where she's going to strike, or against who. Before I close this video out, I normally do this at the beginning of each video, but because I was kind of emotionally affected by this tragic case, I forgot. I think this is probably the most appropriate video that I've linked to a commentary that I've done since I've had some of my commentary. I've been forced to put some of my commentary back on ScrewTube. It's about these goofy ass Negroes that are arguing with each other over the importance of women in the black community, black culture, the lives of black men, and overall society. And one of them vehemently defending this idea that black men cannot live or operate without black women around. And this is the same guy that, as you guys recall, I made a video exposed Cynthia G for her hypocrisy in worshiping a white Hispanic male. He turns right back around and continues simping, because this guy was one of those guys who used to run with Cynthia G before she stabbed him in the back, like this crazed female in suburban Chicago shot this black trooper in the back. Which just serves to reiterate the sad reality to me that a lot of black men will never learn. And some of them will only learn when it's too late. So yeah, click the link in the description box in the pinned post. Check that out. I can't show you the title because the title in and of itself is graphic, on top of a lot of things that I have to say in that video. Rest in peace to this handsome brother. And I hope his tragedy serves as a lesson to the rest of the black men, especially those who are simps and Captain Save-A-Hoes, and still think it's their duty, like certain men still in my family, to protect or stand up for these hoes, like Paris Milan so vehemently demands we do. I'm sorry, Greg Reeves Sr. I'm sorry, brother. Talk to you later, guys.